Hello artists! Okay, so today we're going to learn different watercolor techniques. First we have the salt technique. So I'm going to paint my paper and then I'm going to take a small pinch of salt, just a little bit, and sprinkle it on my wet paper, the parts that I already painted. Just do a little bit at a time. Okay, now I'm going to do wet on wet. This is when you wet your paper first, so I'm going to put water all over the area. And then while it's wet, you're going to add some more paint on top. And then when it dries, it's going to make some cool patterns like clouds. Next is wet on dry, which is how you would just normally paint. So I'm just going to put my paint on the dry paper. And our last technique is called stippling. So stippling can also be a drawing technique, but when we do it with paint, it means that we're going to make a picture by just using a whole bunch of different dots. So I'm putting dots all over my paper. Alright, those are all of our techniques. Now we're just going to wait for them to dry. And this is what they look like after they dry. Wow, magic. Now I'm going to use all the watercolor techniques we learned to make a landscape. In my palette, I have liquid watercolor that I mix with different amounts of water to make different values of blue. When I'm working on the background, I'm using wet on wet technique when I add the darker blue to the lighter blue. And I'm sprinkling salt in my sky to be like snow. Then I use wet on dry to add details like my fence. I'm stippling hills in my middle ground. In my foreground, I'm painting a tree and I'm going to use the tiny brush for small details. Ta-da! I still need to take off some of the salt, but this is how it looks after it dries.